As you guys already know, reaction channels are starting to get deleted. So if you guys enjoyed this channel, make sure to come and subscribe to the backup channel I made for this one. What it is, guys, it's your boy BlastphamousHD, and today we're here to watch top 15 more scary stories that will make you cringe. Hopefully these are not anywhere near as scary as they more than likely actually are. This video is actually 22 minutes long, so I'm more than likely going to have to break it into two pieces because I got that bullshit on my channel. You guys already know what it is. Let go.
Number 15. My friend and I were going to a party a few hours out of town, so we decided to stay at her family's holiday house about an hour south of the party. We arrived around mid-afternoon, and it was winter in a holiday town, so the area was completely empty. No other cars on the street. When we left for the party, I spent a moment deciding whether to pull the gate all the way closed. I had some trouble opening it when we arrived, and if we were getting home late at night, I didn't want to be stuck outside. I decided to shut it for security. Party was great. We got back to the house around 12:30 and the gate was open. I immediately felt on edge because not only did I know I'd locked it, but I knew it couldn't just blow open in the wind. But I didn't want to make a big deal, so I was vague when my friend asked if I shut it. We went inside and decided to make a snack. I was wandering through the house when suddenly my friend raced from the kitchen into the hallway and virtually tackled me to the ground. She was convinced she heard someone walking around outside. We tried to calm ourselves down, but we had no cell reception and there was no one else around. Over the next half an hour or so, we sat in the hallway paralyzed with fear. We heard footsteps outside and the back door being jimmied. We decided we had to leave, so we gathered everything and got ready to make a break for the car.
Call the police! 911!
Just as we were at the front door ready to leave, there was a huge bang in the backyard, and suddenly what sounded like hundreds of birds started screaming. We legged it to the car, ended up starting it with all of our stuff still on our laps. We hadn't even bothered to put it in the back seat. As we reversed out of the driveway, we saw someone running up the side of the house towards us. Sped the entire way home, and even once we got back to my place, didn't sleep at all that night. Number 14. When I was younger...
God damn! At least they were smart for getting the fuck out of there, man. Me, I'd have called the police and left. Fuck that.
My family was extremely poor and lived in a very old mobile home on some land my grandpa owned. This piece of land was in a very small town out in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and covered in woods. The town itself was your typical small country town where football was king and there was nothing to do but get drunk or high on the weekend. It was also the type of town, along with it being the early 90s, where one didn't typically have to worry about too much about locking their doors or setting an alarm. Now our trailer was a 2-bedroom, and my parents, always putting us kids ahead of themselves, slept in the living room on a fold-out couch. My room was directly connected to it, and my sister's was down a hallway past the kitchen and bathroom at the other end of the trailer. One night after everyone had gone to bed, my dad was woken up by the feeling that there was someone in the room. He looked around a bit and sees a large male figure sitting in the easy chair just feet from my bed. My dad quickly flipped on the light switch next to his bed and saw it was a neighbor from down the road named Carter. Carter was known to be a frequent drug user and was often in trouble with the law because of this. My dad asked him what the fuck he was doing here and told him to get out of the house. He responded, "I can't get out. The demons are chasing me and your house is the only safe one." My dad, who I should say is a fairly large and terrifying person, responded that if he didn't get out and get out quickly, that the house would be a lot less safe for him. "If I leave, they'll get me. They've been chasing me all night. If they catch me, I'm dead." My dad's response was there was no demons, but that if he didn't get the fuck out of the house, he'd be dead. From what I've been told since I was asleep for this part, my mom also hurled a few threats, and while she may not be big, she was equally as terrifying. I believe it was her anger that finally scared him off. My dad got up and locked the door and watched through the blinds as Carter decided since he couldn't outrun the demons, he'd steal our old beater Suburban that my dad always left the keys in. He drove around for about an hour. We called the police and it took him about that long to get to us since the closest police station was about 20 or 30 minutes away. He finally brought it back and was arrested and taken to jail. He was deemed crazy and ended up locked in a mental institution. The scarier part is, for years after this, we'd get phone calls where all we'd hear is music lyrics that would always have lyrics like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you." These calls lasted for years and followed us from house to house, even though we had always had different numbers and would even be in different states. We always thought it was him sending us a message. The calls stopped when I was about 12. I later found out it was around that time that Carter thought the best thing he could do for himself was soak himself in gasoline and set himself on fire. Number 13. When I was younger, I had an imaginary friend who lived in this massive antique dresser. We'd chill out and I vividly remember him telling me stories, although I have absolutely no recollection about what they actually were. I remember one day talking to my parents about it. Dad traveled quite a bit, so he wasn't up to date with what I was into, and I started telling him about my dresser buddy. He wanted to know his name. It was something innocent like Peter or Patrick, but I can still see him going white in the face. I drew Peter or Patrick out for him, and the very next day, him and my uncle took that dresser and burned it. It wasn't until a few years later that I found out my dad's little brother, my uncle, also had the same friend with the same name who lived in the same antique dresser. After a few months of typical imaginary friend shit, my uncle started having night terrors and couldn't sleep because of Peter or Patrick. It got so bad they had to move him out of his room before he managed to get back to normal. Number 12.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Where are you buying furniture from? What the shit?
I was visiting family for winter break in Los Angeles. This was about 5 years ago. I was heading to the bathroom on the second floor of my aunt's house when I saw my cousin April on the stairs. April was 4 and very animated. She was busy making funny faces while sitting on the stairs. I asked her what she was doing. She said, "I'm copying the lady with the braid." I looked around. There was no one else but us. I asked, "Where is the lady, April?" She pointed to a beam running parallel to the stairwell. I asked April, "What is the lady doing?" She said, "Making funny faces." I smiled and started walking up the stairs again when April said something that stopped me in my tracks. Her braids is around her neck. I turned back and asked April to repeat herself. April pointed, "The lady is hanging by her braid. She's making funny faces." Then April started making a face when I realized it was someone gasping for air. Number 11. I once worked on an Indian reservation.
Man, I'm fucking up, dude. I didn't know these would actually be fucked up. So now, man, my imagination's starting to fuck with me. I think I'm starting to hear shit, but I know there's nothing there. Man, shit!
And it's late at night in South Dakota. Some friends and I are driving. One of them is native, and we are discussing folktales of the area. Suddenly, I see a white light running towards the road across the plains, and my friend steps on the brakes. "You're doing that because you saw it too, right?" "Yup." We pull up to the area, and there is nothing there. I have goosebumps all the way back to where I'm staying. That night, I have awful dreams about native warriors trying to destroy New York City, and then I wake up with something breathing in my ear, whispering to me. I scream my friend's name, and he looks over at me and tells me it's okay. I fall back into the same dream over and over again. I keep trying to change the outcome. The next day, my friend told me when he woke up and saw me screaming, a massive shadow was above me. The tall man, not Slenderman. This guy is different. My friend didn't want to tell me he saw it because he knew it would freak me out even more. Was afraid to sleep for weeks. Smudged the crap out of my room, put sage on the window still, and hung up mad dream catchers. Shit was scary but also kind of funny. I think they had fun messing with the white girl. Number 10. This happened to a friend of mine. She told me about it a year or so ago. We'll call her Minji. Minji is in her late 20s and works as an English tutor in South Korea. One evening, a few years ago, she was tutoring a high school boy. They were up studying pretty late and the buses stopped running. Being a long way from his house, the boy asked if he could crash on her floor overnight and get the first bus the next morning. Minji was very reluctant because inviting a teenage male student to stay the night didn't sound like a great idea, but he was begging her and eventually she got relented. They went back to her one-room apartment and she got into the bed while he laid a blanket out on the floor and they both fell asleep. A few hours later, at maybe 2 a.m., the boy wakes Minji up. "I'm really hungry," he says. "Let's go get some food." Minji opens her eyes and looks up at him in disbelief. "Food? Now? It's 2 a.m., go back to bed." But the student insists, "No, I'm so hungry, let's eat something now." She tells him that there's some ramen in the kitchen and he can fix himself some. This doesn't satisfy him. He doesn't want ramen. There's a 24-hour place just down the road, let's go there. Eventually, after several minutes of persuasion, the boy gets Minji to come with him to the restaurant. They leave the apartment and head out, and as soon as they're on the street, the boy turns to Minji and says, "I'm not hungry. I woke up in the middle of the night and looked under your bed. There's a man sleeping there." They call the police and discover that a homeless man had been living in Minji's apartment, sleeping under her bed for over 2 months. The boy only saw him because he was lying on her floor, so had a clear view under the bed. The police arrested the man, and thankfully there were no other issues, but that's by far the creepiest thing that's ever happened to anyone I know. Number 9. When I was a child, we
2 fucking months? The fuck? Where was he pooping at? Was he shitting on, did he have a cup? This for the poop?
would frequently get calls for a woman named Tanya. Didn't seem like a big deal. She had the same last name as us, although it's quite a common one around here. When we moved across the city and phone books stopped being the go-to for finding someone's number, the calls for Tanya gradually stopped. Those days seemed to have ended and we carried on forgetting about the mysterious Tanya. It was about 4 years ago that she popped up in our lives again. I was driving home from work one afternoon and was greeted by a pretty grisly car wreck that turned to my house. 2 cars had collided and one had wrapped itself around the signage pole that had house numbers and directions on it, one of which was my house number. Several days later we get a call from the police. They asked if Tanya was at this residence. Her car was found wrapped around a pole down the street from my house and she was nowhere to be found at the accident site. Haven't heard anything about her since. Number 8.
The fuck? Hell to the no.
My mom had 3 kids. There's me, the youngest, and my older brother. But before either of us were born, there was Jonathan. He was a sweet little boy, big blue eyes, known for accidentally repeating dad's swears in church. Wholesome kid, great in school, active outside. When he was almost 6, he was riding his bike and fell and hit his head on a rock. He got up and said he felt fine. My mom found him the next morning in his bed when she tried to wake him up to get to kindergarten. One pupil dilated and the other not. She got him airlifted to the nearest hospital. During this time, Jonathan's best friend Nick was sitting at the breakfast table eating cereal. Nick suddenly gets up from the table and goes to the door. When his mom asks him what's up, Nick says Johnny was calling for him. You see, Nick and Johnny lived on separate blocks, but they weren't allowed to cross the street without a parent yet because they were still fairly young. But they lived close enough to call to one another to come out to talk at their respective street corners. So Nick goes to the street corner while his mother receives a call from mine that Johnny was declared dead in the hospital. Idle brain aneurysm that was triggered by the fall. Nick's mom can hardly handle the news and is now wondering where her son went. But Nick comes back a few minutes later and says that he heard Johnny calling to him, but he wasn't at the street corner when he looked, then sits down to continue to eat his cereal. When his mom asks Nick what Johnny was saying, Nick says he had to come say goodbye. Number 7.
My nigga, that's possibly the saddest thing I've ever heard in my life. God damn. Shit, this should be a try not to cry challenge. God damn, that shit almost got me. But yo, we're gonna have to continue this in the next one. The link for that will be in the description down below. If you guys want to watch the original video, it will be in the description down below. The link to that, of course, which leads to Top 15's channel. It's your boy BlastphamousHD. Make sure to comment, like, and don't subscribe. Twisms. Again, this is your boy BlastphamousHD. If you guys enjoy my reaction videos, make sure to click the annotation on the screen or click the link down in the description. Go over and subscribe to my brand new reaction channel. I know you guys will enjoy all the videos I'm going to be pumping out over there. I've got a bunch of them. Have a great day, and I'm out.